Hey, it's Jeff Walker, and this week I am inspired by Peyton Manning. So if you're not a fan of American football, Peyton Manning plays for the Denver Broncos, and I just happen to be a Broncos fan. Yay, Broncos! And last week they played a game to get into the Super Bowl, and they won that game. And so next week, Peyton Manning is going to be in the Super Bowl. I think this is his 4th Super Bowl that he's going to be in. So Peyton, the reason I'm talking about Peyton is because he's 39 years old, which is very old to be a quarterback in American football. He'll be, when this game starts, the Super Bowl, he will be the oldest quarterback to ever start in that game. And this season has been one of the things I like about sports is that the improbable happens all the time. Things that are so improbable, if you put them in a book, people wouldn't believe them. So Peyton started the season, and this is, probably his last season before he retires. And he was having a very, very hard time. He was not having a good year. It was like the worst year of his career. And then it turned out, the public found out he was playing hurt. He had a hurt foot. And it was really affecting his game. And then eventually, somewhere around, I don't know, 6 or 7 or 8 games into the season, let's say halfway into the season approximately, the injury became severe enough where he couldn't play anymore. And so he was benched. This is someone who's had arguably one of the greatest careers ever in football. And at the end of his career, it was hard to see him just not doing well. I mean, one of the greatest leaders, one of the greatest performers ever, and late in his career, and he got hurt, and he got pulled out of the game in the middle of the game. I mean, this is someone who's going to be in the Hall of Fame getting pulled out in the middle of the game, and it wasn't a good thing to see. He was replaced by someone who was, 15 years younger than him, but Peyton kept at it. He kept working to heal his body, and then he came in, and at the end of the season was able to deliver a miracle victory and then a couple more victories in the playoffs, and now he's going to the Super Bowl. He'll be playing a week from today in the Super Bowl. And it's inspirational to see someone who is the consummate professional, who just, he got hurt, he gets pulled out of the game in the twilight of his career. It was a horrible way to end a career. But he just focused on his next step. And that's what I want to talk about here, is focusing what is your next step on your path to building your business, to your next project, to building a successful life. That's the only thing we can do, is do what is the next step. So his next step was to get himself healthy. So he worked on his recovery, and then he was able to come in, and once he came in, his skills, frankly, they're diminished. They're not as good as they were a few years ago, and certainly 5 years ago, and even 10 years ago. His skills aren't where they were, but he focused on the skills he had, and he executed with the talent he had, and he executed with the team he had around him. It reminds me of a story of, I got to spend some time on Necker Island with Richard Branson. That's Richard Branson's private island in the British Virgin Islands. And while I was there, I was talking to the manager of his island, Kenny, and a number of years ago, they had this fire on Necker Island, and it burned down their main lodge. And it was a horrible fire that just burned into the ground. No one was hurt. A few people were almost lost their lives, but they were able to get them out. And it was just destroyed, devastated. And along with this building being devastated, it burned up almost all of their business systems, all their computers, all their technology, all their communications. And they're in this little island out in the Caribbean. And what Kenny told me is the morning after, when they got the fire out, it was still smoldering. There were still embers smoldering, but everyone was safe. And at that point, they had one laptop to run this entire operation. They had one laptop that didn't get burned up, and one cell phone was their only connection to the outside world. And what Kenny said is, when Richard Branson, a very, very successful billionaire entrepreneur, came up to Kenny, and the first question he said to him was, after they knew everyone was safe, the first question is, when does the architect get here? When does the architect? I mean, just devastation. And you could sit there and you could sit down and you can cry in your soup or whatever, but he was just like, okay, we have this problem. What's the next step? Get an architect here and start planning. That's the way Peyton was. It was the next step is get healthy. I'm going to focus on everything I need to do to get healthy. And then he got back in the game. It's like, okay, what's the next step? And he came in the middle of a game. You know, his replacement was pulled. He came in the middle of a game where it's just an absolute crucial situation. And it's like, what's the next step? Take the team down the field and get this touchdown. I know I can't throw the ball like I have in the past. I don't have that weapon at my disposal. But what do I have at my disposal? And how can I move down the field? What's the next step? What's your next step this day? What's your next step this hour? What's your next step this week to move forward, to building your business, to building your success, to helping more people, impacting more people, and building the life that you want, the life that you design? What is your next step? So I'm Jeff Walker. If you're watching this anywhere else besides at my blog at jeffwalker.com, head on over there for more videos and goodies. Scroll down, leave a comment, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, I don't care. Just give me some reaction, leave a comment, go ahead and give me the shares on social, and let's go get them this week.